Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Uh, just wanted to share a piece of like tech or something that I've set up on my computer, which I thought is quite beneficial and maybe it will help you guys as well. So, as an example here, using this for my university notes, here's some rough notes I just took from a PowerPoint, yani having the PowerPoint on the side and just taking notes based on the important things. But when you come and you read this, it's very messy. It's very like hard to read. You don't really. It's all over the place because you're just taking rough notes. And if you're like me and you want to have clean notes, it takes a lot of time to organize your stuff. So here's a tool I guess that I set up. So if I take this text, I cut it, and I use the rewrite template. It's connected to an AI, and he rewrites it for me in a clean way, taking the same information and just formatting it in a more organized way. So now, like, there's titles, everything has its own box. For example, if I want to see properties of relations, it's all here, and I can close it and I can open it. Obviously, it's AI, so you still need to check what he did, since you can't really trust AI unrestrictedly. You have to check what he did. So this is all great, but you can do this yourself. Now, where this gets useful is you can take this information and I come to this note, which I have named questions, and I can use the template quiz me. So he takes this note that I made and he sets questions for me. Now, like the way that I told him to do it is to be very thorough, because when I'm preparing for exams, I don't want to miss anything. So he asks a lot of questions, even if the question is like redundant or something, but I want him to be thorough. So he asks me, what's the definition of a relations inverse? What is the inverse relation? Arrow diagrams, reflexive relations, everything. About all the topics that were included. And then at the end, he puts the answer key. Now, this is great, but where things get incredible is if I go to this Anki sheet or Anki note. So Anki is a flashcard application. So for example, if I came here, I open this one, he gives me a question. So what is the primary function of the CPU in a computer? And then I quiz myself with this question and I can see the answer. So the CPU retrieves instructions from memory. And then I tell him, depending on how easy I answered this question. So if I struggled, I would tell him again. If it was really easy, I would tell him easy. If it was good, I'll tell him good. And based on what you tell him, he uses like some neuro like studies or something to know when is the best time to show you this note again, to ensure that you see it like just as you're about to forget it, so that it stays in your memory. So here, for example, if I told him it's good, he'll show it to me in less than 10 minutes. So if we like did a whole bunch of this, so you'll see now with good he shows it to you once and then he shows it to you again to ensure that it becomes firm in your memory. So now if I say it's good, he'll show it to me in 5 days, since this application also learns with you, like the more you use it. So he's learned that, for example, if I was good on something from the first attempt, it's gonna be good to show it to me in 5 days. That's gonna be the time where I'm like starting to get likely to forget it. And this is something called spaced repetition. Seeing something at like spaced intervals of your memory is good for making it stick. Anki in general is just a really great application, but the problem with it is making the flashcards takes a lot of time. So you come here and you use the last template, flashcards. So he takes these questions that we set up and he formats it in a way which works for Anki. I have to also add target deck, and for example, let's put it in university MTT201, and I press scan vault. He scans the vault. If I go to Anki, we have a new folder, MTT201, and the same questions are here for studying and like practicing. So this is great. That was the showcase. Now let me show you how to set it up. So let's switch to a test vault, and let's switch to a test profile. So the first step is you're going to need to install two plugins into Obsidian. Obsidian it's amazing. This is one of my favorite note-taking apps because you can just customize everything, and the community plugins they have, like there's lots of great things. So you have to browse community plugins. We need we need two plugins: text generator, this is the main one, and we need anki, export to anki, I think it's this one. Yep. Actually, let's just check so that since there's a lot of Obsidian to Anki plugins, but not all of them work, and not all of them work really well. This is the one that I found works best. So Obsidian to Anki. So it was not this one. Oh, it was this one. Okay, Obsidian to Anki. So you have to enable the plugins. Another plugin which is really useful for this is called Templater. You can use this to make templates. So now that we have all the plugins turned on, we need to first set up the text generator. So for this one, you have a bunch of options of like providers. Like you can use OpenAI, you can use Gemini, you can use Claude, anything. You just need an API key. So I'm using something called groq because I found it was free. I can import the profile. And here I have here's the profile. I'll have this included as a download link, so you can download the profile to import it. And here you can choose the model. So we'll use the default one for now. And like there's a bunch of settings and stuff where you can like change things around. I'll leave this to you guys to check out. But now we need the API key. So here we'll go to this folder, text generator, API keys. Okay, this wasn't a good idea. I'll just get it normally, not this website. So you go to API keys. You can say I already have one, but just for example, and you will have test. You need to verify you're human and submit. So I have to copy the API key and make sure you save it because you cannot see it again. So take the API key, we put it in Obsidian, we put the API key here, and I think that should be it for here. So next is you have the templates. So templates path, he wants the templates in a folder called text generator /templates. So we'll go make this folder, text generator, and templates. We'll put this inside. So that should be the same folder that he wants with no spaces, text generator /templates. I think he also comes with his own templates, but I made my own because I wasn't really a fan of the ones that he had, and because also needed stuff like for the flashcards and stuff. So they'll be here in the zip file that I will also share. So let's extract here, take this folder. I think I can like this. No. Okay, we'll just show in System Explorer. And we'll take this here. right into. So now we have my templates and all the templates are here. I think I need to like, maybe it needs to refresh or something. Showing System Explorer. Yeah, they're here. So maybe just doing this, for example. Okay, I'll just close it and then open it again. Yeah, now the templates are here. So that's the first step. So for example, if I were to go to this, make a new note, and let's set up the keybinds. So hotkeys and template, text generator, templates, generate and insert. I have this as Control J, but there's a conflict, so we need to find, yeah, it's generate text. So I don't really use generate text because I want to use my own templates. And let's say, for example, let me take this note again. Maybe it's in my clipboard. I think, yeah, this. So we take this, we'll take it all, and then Control J and rewrite, and it's working. So that's the first step. This is now you can set up your like text generation with the AI. Now to connect it to Anki, you need to add an extension to Anki. So you can go to Tools, Add-ons. Okay, so I think it takes already the add-ons that I have, since I have them in a different profile, but you need Anki Connect, and you need to paste this text into it. I think like there's only one change, which is you need to add obsidian and some other stuff. I have it in the folder that I'm going to share. This folder, Anki Connect. You just copy this and you put it in this configuration, and that's going to be Anki Connect setup. For the first time you're using the Obsidian to Anki, and for every time you need to have both applications open so that it can connect to it. So let's say, for example, we take this, I make a new note, Control J, flashcards. So he makes all the flashcards. Need to add target deck, just test, and scan vault, and successfully connected. And if we come, we have test, and the flashcards are all there. If relation blah blah blah, blah can be blah blah blah. So that should be it, I think. If I forgot something, I might like add it in the description or something. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I may make another video like on setting up Obsidian, because it's a great application, like with all the customization and stuff that you can do. I mentioned templater being useful. So with templater, what you can do is need to find his template folder. Yeah. So let's, for example, just make like a folder called template, or I need to make it here, I guess. Templater. Templater. So have this as the folder, and what this is good for is I can go, for example, to templater. I'll have this Anki. So the format that Anki takes is like this. So I come in the templater, I put this note, and I call it, for example, Anki, and I want him also to have target deck main deck sub deck, and we'll leave this here. So then I need to set up the hotkey as well. Templater. Okay, no, it's templates, not templater. So you don't actually need this community plugin. What we use is templates. So template folder location, templater, and then hotkeys, templates. Yeah. So insert template. I'll have this as like Alt T, for example. Then I can come to this new note and I do Alt T. I select Anki, and it's already set up. So I just need to, for example, I want to put it in university MTT201. You need to have 2 colons, and I can delete this, and I can use flashcards, and it comes here in the same format. Now you can also edit the templates how you like. So this is what I told them for Anki and format and stuff. So you can edit if you find any problems with the templates, or if you want them to do something. And if, for example, in rewrite, I tell them to make a glossary section and put all the definitions. Maybe you don't like this, you will remove it. There's also I think if I do command palette and template playground. So here, this is how you can make templates. So with this, you see title, content, selection. So for example, selection is if I'm selecting a piece of text, he sends this to the AI. So what I'm using is I'm using clipboard. So I copy the text that I want to my clipboard, and then he takes it and he like runs the AI stuff on it. You can click learn more. It takes you to the documentation. So for example, if I took this rewrite and I put it here as a template, you see is the template, and I can do, for example, run, and he gives you a test. So this is where you can test making new templates and stuff. And yeah, I think that should be it. Like, I've gone over the main points, and yeah, I'll have the important files linked in the description so you can download them, and hopefully this benefits you guys.